Hey everyone, I know it's spring, but it's never too early to think about harvest. Geringhoff is head of the class no matter the crop, making premium harvesting heads for all your harvesting needs. Check them out at geringhoff.com.
But there's so many people that are telling our story for us, and we are letting them tell the story for us. And that would be okay if the story was accurate, but most of the time the story they're telling isn't even correct.
There is a podcast in Iowa, Farm4Profit was named by they. Fate stirred up a banker near, then quick came an auctioneer. Making profit was their first goal, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Soon may the farmers come to bring us guests and beer and fun. One day when the recording's done, we'll take our mics and go. These formats shook us to our core. With Farm4Fun, you will not snore. The banker set all mics to on, and the moment of podcast was born. Soon may the farmers come to bring us guests and beer and fun. One day when the recording's done, we'll take our mics and go. Before we knew, conversations grew. Growing corn even said F you. So won't you join Tanner, Dave, Corey, and crew? Please like, share, review. Soon may the farmers come to bring us guests and beer and fun. One day when the recording's done, we'll take our mics and go.
Welcome to a Farm4Fun episode of the Farm4Profit podcast. This is Tanner Winterhoff.
This is Corey Hillebo.
And this is David Whitaker.
Oh, that beer smells so good, Dave. You are going to love this one. Listeners, thank you for joining us. Thank you for jumping in. We couldn't do this without you. Thank you for sending your ideas to farm4profitllc@gmail.com and tagging us on social media. That's how we get awesome guests like we've got today.
I don't know if that beer is going to be awesome. The outside of the can looks like a hop, but a monster with devil horns. So it's going to be like the most hoppy IPA you've ever had.
Yeah,
but I digress.
You wait.
All right. So we let's go to listener review, Corey.
Today's listener review is brought to you by BW Fusion. Just a reminder, when you sign up for at least 500 acres of the 401 microbial team, you get at least one free field in the 365 program.
Yeah, ask for more.
Farm4Profit. Yeah, you can always ask for more.
That's right.
They can always tell you no.
And Chris, so our listener review, Chris, thank you for this review. Apple Podcasts, if you like ag and have time to listen, everybody's got time. Ain't nobody got time for that. They cover a wide variety of topics as well as get to know personal sides of the guest. Highly recommended.
That was the key part, the highly recommend.
Highly.
Thank you, Chris.
Speaking of time, though, like when you're listening, I do my best podcast listening when I don't have time.
Well, that's fair.
I'm a procrastinator, but also like I'm always wanting to kind of do multiple tasks, so I listen while I'm working.
Yeah.
So it's a great time to listen.
I don't disagree with you. That's true. Whenever I'm listening, I'm usually doing something else.
Yep.
And when you said time, that's not even the right one yet.
Subconsciously learning.
Yeah, and I'm also on like 1.25, 1.5 times speed.
Or maybe you're subconsciously working.
That's probably what it is. Don't forget to check out bw-fusion.com for all of your microbiological needs.
And guys, you can leave us a voicemail.
That's right. Send a text message.
515-207-9640.
Yo 40.
Yo 40. Not the back 40. It's yo
40. Let me see that
40.
can.
This is the wrong can. You want this
Some
can.
Edward Scissorhands with some 40 scissors hands or whatever.
That's right. We're going to do things a little bit different this week.
Let's just get to
We're going to
drinking.
try something. Yeah, and we're going to get to one of these right away. So thanks to Dahl Distributing, we are going to get to the first beer before we even get to the guest.
Tanner poured us a paper shot glass of beer. And it's about ready to seep through the seam.
Supply
So we
chain
need to drink this.
issues.
Yeah.
That's how harsh it is.
Millstream Brewing Company, The Fuzz. Peach, is it Kolsch? Is that how you say that? What's the two dots above the O?
I think it makes it an O sound, right?
Kolsch.
Didn't we
Kolsch
learn that?
Yeah, we
Kolsch?
did that last time.
Yep. Peach Kolsch L is how they're going to say it. Product of the USA. Let's taste it.
It's very peachy.
It is. This is like this is an artificial peach.
How my pinky doesn't fit on this cup, so I feel like it should go up. Like
It should go up.
What do you think, Dave?
It's actually a beer I could drink. I'm not a big fan of peach, though, but it's fruity I like.
It's a real peach. Like it's not the peach rings. It's not the peach candy.
You don't like
get.
peach rings?
No, I do love peach
You
rings.
like peach rings, Dave?
What are peach rings?
The gummy.
They're like
sugary
sugar on them.
gummy.
It's like a
circle.
gummy.
Oh, yeah. They got sugar on them. Yeah, I'm
So
in.
you like peach?
Yeah.
That's like me saying I don't like lemon, but I'll
good
still
beer.
drink lemonade.
Yeah, it's not bad.
That is It is very
All
good.
right.
So, listeners, we just got the first beer out of the way.
Thanks
the
to Doll
Fuzz Doll Distributing. In our shot glass paper cups due to the plastic shortage, apparently, since we can't get a hold of those anymore. But why don't we jump off into introducing
Whoop. Hey,
what?
I got a call. I got to go sell a farm. You guys handle this.
You're kidding me.
Oh my gosh.
Are you serious? He is always working.
There he goes.
Yes.
There he goes.
Taking off. All right,
right.
let's jump
It's
into
you and
this,
me.
Corey. Here we go.
Today on the Farm4Fun show, we head to the northwest corner of the lower 48 to talk to one of my favorite TikTok follows. He's spreading his knowledge of all aspects of produce farming on large scale. He's so entertaining. He's a third-generation farmer, is a pilot, has his own podcast that you need to check out called Produce Common Sense. And is a guy that has almost 400,000 followers on TikTok from Nyssa, Oregon, Mr. Shay the Farm Kid Myers.
All right.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Absolutely. The pleasure is all ours.
And we are going to try to do a crammed show here because he's on a tight schedule. So let's get right to it. Shay, welcome to the show. Give us a synopsis of what you do and who you are.
Yeah, Synopsis is I'm a farm kid. That's i.e. the name, I guess, on my handles on social media. I'm a third-generation farmer. We are row croppers doing everything from asparagus to watermelon. I came back to our farming operation in about 2005. I guess that's the early 2000s. And just knew I had to come back to the farm like a lot of folks that are in farming. It's in your blood. It's a legacy that you feel like you've got to contribute to and continue. And so after graduating college in 2005, I came back. My family threw me to the wolves, tried some new stuff. Some things worked, some things didn't. And 16 years in, we grow about 1,200 acres of onions. We're probably top dozen largest onion growers in the country.
Wow.
And it's my job to get those onions sold and marketed throughout the country on a year-round basis. So that's my day job.
I'm pretty sure you are the first onion farmer we have ever had on our podcast. Are there a lot of onion farmers?
You know, there's in the western U.S., Idaho, Oregon, Washington, there's a total of about 60,000 acres grown.
Okay.
I would have guessed that there's probably 450 growers. You know, you jump into California and some of the other growing districts. So I'd say there's for sure less than 1,000 onion growers. You know, if we're saying, 100 acres and above, I bet there's less than 1,000 nationwide.
Okay. And you said your job is to get those onions sold. What does that mean?
Well, unlike, a grain crop, which we also grow, but unlike corn or wheat or something like that you just forward contract and deliver, we have to market and sell on the open market every single pound of onions that we grow in one form or another. So we have a farming operation. Those onions are then harvested and go into storage. From storage, they come over our packing line and are packaged in anything from a 2-pound bag to 2,000-pound tote. And those are sold throughout the country, actually throughout the North America, actually Mexico, Canada, United States. That's what I've got to do, right? And you forward contract where you can, but really it's spot market sales based on supply and demand on a daily basis. In fact, that's why onions are so studied. Like when you go into Econ 101, there's a really good chance that you're going to study onions because it's one of those few commodities that's truly supply and demand driven. Well, everything's supply and demand driven, but it's one of those that's completely part of whatever the market cycle or whatever the demand cycle is, or the supply cycle or the supply opportunity is. You have to deal with it and adjust and sell and promote.
So what I love about Shay's TikToks is he's a farmer, but we're Midwest. You know, we're row crops, and we don't get into the produce side of things. So when I think of produce, I think of something that is once you pick it, it's got a time clock, or you got to freeze it, or something like that. Onions, from what I've learned from they can store them just like another crop that you can store, right?
Really?
Yeah. How does that process work?
Yeah, so when we come out of the field, we go into storage after a field cure. So we undercut the root, leave those onions. We're blessed to be in a very dry climate. So we'll leave those onions in the field for a couple of weeks, really put an extra layer or two of papery skin on the outside, bring them in, and we put them in bulk storages. Some guys do bins. some do bulk. We do bulk, but we do more bulk than anything else. So you can imagine, well, if someone's seen a potato storage, or you've seen, piles of wheat next to the rail yards or something like that, we bring them in, pile them up. There's an air floor that passes the air through from the bottom layer all the way to the top. And that allows us to store those onions for 9 or 10 months at a time.
Wow. I didn't know where this was going to go, and I certainly didn't expect it to go that way. But one of the things that drew my attention to, I think it was a TikTok of yours, is part of the way that you are selling these onions is through a brand that you created on your own, correct?
The Owyhee brand and the Shea Farm Kid brand are both something that we created to try and have some identity that sets us apart from everyone else. And the reason I ended up on social media in the first place was to try and drive that demand, to show people that there was a difference, and to try and convince people that we were putting in additional effort that we needed to be paid for, or at least to see the effort that we all put in so we can all get paid more.
Right. So where's the buck naked part come in?
Oh, buck naked. Yeah, buck naked is our whole peeled onion. So it's a processed onion, if you will, to a certain extent. We bring an onion, usually we're using our byproduct, something that's aesthetically imperfect, and we'll run it into our peeling plant where it's blasted with air, shoot the outside 2 layers of skin off, and you end up with an onion that's completely usable. So that tends to go to food processors and food manufacturers that need a commodity that they can dice, slice, and throw into the recipes.
Wow. And we go clear back, Corey, to when he first introduced himself. Onions aren't the only crop. You said, what did you say? You said asparagus and watermelon.
Yeah, how many crops do you have?
9 to 10, depending on the year.
Okay.
Yep.
Imagine you have quite a big workforce behind you.
Okay, on the farm side, it'll take about 90 over the course of a year, from general labor all the way up to farm managers. This is a family farming operation, right? So there's 8 different families involved with me. My cousin, my uncle, well, actually multiple cousins. I've got my uncle, one of his sons, and 2 of his sons-in-law. My mom's in the operation, my aunt's in the operation, all in different aspects. We farm about 4,000 acres, and that's almost all vegetable production in one form or another. So it takes a lot of us working in tandem to accomplish what we do.
I imagine get into a lot of H2As and visa type workers.
Yeah, we've gone from 18 to 58 H2A visa workers over the course of about the last 5 years, just based on sheer necessity. Same number of workers needed, just fewer available domestically. So that number has increased year over year over year.
So some of the posts that I've seen you put out, definitely lend to, and the articles that you've been interviewed for, lend to your involvement in politics to kind of protect that source of help, that source of labor for your farms. I wrote it down in my notes that would you have any interest in being one of the next Secretary of Ags?
Everyone asks me if I want to be in politics, and I don't. The short answer is yes. I would love to be in politics and have an impact. What I don't know how to do is how to step away from running our business on a daily basis and financially support myself and my family, right? I think that's the challenge that I see being a participant in politics. I also look at it sometimes, and I really want to make a difference. And right. I'm not sure if you make more of a difference on a federal level or on a state level. And I think there's a pretty significant argument that you can do more regionally, or at least on a statewide basis, than you can when you go to the Hill. And having spent time on the Hill over twice in the last year, I think I'm even more convinced that that's the case. The wheels turn so slowly, the bureaucratic process runs so thick that it's probably better. You're probably better off staying home or at least close to home, or as close to home as you can, and seeing what kind of impact you can make.
I don't know if I would disagree. Corey, would you disagree?
No, I wouldn't disagree at all, and I think you could do more probably on the state level, at least for your local. I mean, you're probably so broad on the Hill that you just never see the impacts that you get done.
I mean, if I could like snap my fingers and be Secretary of State, Secretary of Agriculture, I could probably do something, right?
Sure.
But to get to a place like that,
it's political.
you don't, for some reason, you don't just snap your fingers and make that happen. I don't know why.
Yeah, you're right. That's true. I kind of didn't put the two and two together. Is you can't just start in politics at that level. You would have to run a career through that, have a proven track record to get obviously noticed and tapped on the shoulder. But I just appreciate how I understand it, social media, and it can be, the thoughts can be put out there before it's recorded. But I appreciate the thoughtfulness that you do put in your posts, both on LinkedIn and TikTok, where I've followed you, to where I think you'd be a valued asset. But I don't disagree again with the thought process of trying to move away from doing what you're doing.
What he does is he's an advocate, if for lack of a better word, which I don't really like that term, but he doesn't have that feel. Right. It just feels so educational and so entertaining at the same time. And maybe that's just because I'm truly interested. I don't know about these crops, but it's just an amazing way that you present your message. So we really appreciate that.
I really enjoy it. I mean, it's the point, I guess. And when you think of an advocate, right, and you use that terminology, I think a lot of the times we in agriculture tend to talk to, instead of talking to the consumer, we talk to each other. And when we talk to each other, we talk down to the consumer, right? We're complaining about the lack of understanding in what we do and in how we do things. And that's okay, I think, farmer to farmer. But if we really want to have an impact, if I go on and I just complain about whatever I want to complain about, and I do it as if I'm talking to another farmer, it's not going to go anywhere. Mm-hmm. And I hope other people, if you haven't seen my stuff, and if you want to copy it like crazy with your commodity, I would encourage it, because the messaging needs to be out there. We all need to be fighting to have a voice about what we do in agriculture, because we do great things. We work very hard. We care about the environment. We care about the country. We care about the world that we live in. But there's so many people that are telling our story for us, and we are letting them tell the story for us. And that would be okay if the story was accurate, but most of the time the story they're telling isn't even correct.
Right.
So we got about 5 minutes left here. I want to get into how COVID-19 affected you and how it's going to affect produce and the trucker shortage and just all of that in general. I know you've had some content on that. What are we looking like going forward here?
Yeah, it's been pretty incredible to see. I mean, you're watching the commodities markets and what the increases have been. I'm looking at our cost of production. We're up 35%, just straight cost of production for onions. I'm using that as the example, but across the board, we're up significantly, high double digits on everything, but about 35% on onions. We are starting to propose those new numbers to retailers, to food service, to processors, and I thought there would be more hesitation than there is. The good news is people understand the circumstance that we're in. We're going to see that increase there. And then if you look at what freight's doing, of course, that number's up, 100%, 80, right. 100%. What's unique about onions, and when we look at the consumer price index and what it means for the consumer, just to kind of make that full loop or full circle, retailers make on an onion, it's the second most valuable commodity in the produce department. They make between 300% and 500%. That's their markup. So wow. The consumer, at the consumer level, I don't think they're ever going to see the 35% increase that we saw based on the CPI, because the retailer is going to absorb part of that. I don't think they can maintain 300 or 500%. They're going to have to cut that by 20 or 30% or 15%, and therefore the consumer won't realize such an impact.
Right. So I go back to one of your posts that you made early in COVID talking about the price of pallets and how that had helped. And I'm going to give you crap because it looks like you've got one of those pallets on your wall right behind you. That you
right? It's like artwork now. They're so valuable.
Uh-huh. But this pallet out of a coffee table.
That's right. Just to ship my onions on. So I totally get that. And I want to grab just 3 quick points because I just saw a post of your asparagus being covered in snow. And if I remember back to a year ago, you also had asparagus crop issues. Is that accurate? Or
that's absolutely accurate. I feel like right now, not only are we fighting, and this is regionally, right? This isn't nationwide necessarily, but farming is always difficult. We're always fighting Mother Nature in one form or another, whether it's too wet or it's too dry or it's too windy or it's too still or it's too whatever. There's always something, right? If I have a message and the reason that we all need to speak out and do things like what you're doing with this podcast, it's that there's that pressure that we're already dealing with, these things that we have to overcome as agriculturists. And then there's all of the additional bureaucratic pressure from policy that is just weighing us all down and making it that much harder for us to adapt. So the reason we had trouble a year ago, this year Mother Nature's, punching us and slapping us and kicking us in the ribs. Last year, we couldn't get our H-2A workers across the border because of basically, paperwork errors that instead of taking 2 or 3 days to correct took weeks and weeks and weeks. And ultimately, the consumer and we as Americans are going to see the ramifications of all of that. That to me was like the canary in the coal mine in one way or another, and that those workers should have never been unavailable, right? If we had any way to expedite a process or to use common sense, you're like, hey, this farmer is going to lose 200,000 pounds of asparagus in the entire year's profit if they don't have workers in 10 days, and expedite that. But the bureaucrats don't understand that. The politicians don't understand that. And until we actually are short on food, which with the grains we might see,
right.
At least worldwide, we're going to see a food shortage. But until we see that domestically, that's what I'm afraid of. We're going to keep going down this path where we make it harder and harder and harder to grow our fruits and our vegetables, or our commodity crops for that matter. And we're going to just get to a point where it's like the Malcolm Gladwell turning point. Like we're just going to be there and we're going to cross over that threshold and we're like, whoa, crap, why are we so short on food? I'm not like trying to cry wolf or say the sky is falling, but we are progressing towards a point where it's going to be really hard to correct.
Right. And I don't disagree with you, having paid attention to the news lately during, the disputes and just seeing what we're going to see for worldwide production. It's going to hit some places really hard. And unfortunately, hopefully it's not going to be close to home, but it needs to resonate so we can get some things fixed ahead of time. The last two pieces real quick is, so the love of Spanish, because that's across all your profiles. You say that you love Spanish. Was that a necessity because of the industry you're in, or is it a true passion for Spanish?
Two things. First of all, I grew up in a town surrounded by Latinos. I'm in a farming community, right? And half of the students in my graduating class, for example, were Mexican descendants. So I was surrounded by the culture, and I appreciated the people, and I understand the people with more depth than I think the average, Caucasian male would in the U.S. And then I worked side by side with these folks. And then I was blessed with the opportunity to be a missionary and learn the language in addition to that. And then I came back because I had all these components that came together. I loved the language. I learned the language, and then I ended up getting my bachelor's degree in Spanish literature. I just love the challenge of learning things. The pilot thing comes into play with that too. I love things that are really challenging, and learning a language is one of those things that's just really challenging. And then you get the beauty of the culture and the people that kind of make this trifecta that comes together.
Right. He just dropped that in there. He's also a pilot.
Yeah. I dropped it in my intro.
Oh, you got it too? You nailed it?
Yeah. I wouldn't have mentioned it otherwise, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Just slip that
Well,
one right
I have aspirations of being a pilot someday, so I love watching him, do that stuff too.
Yeah. And it's not easy.
No.
Like you said, it's a challenge. It's one of those things where you get that license and then it's a real sign of accomplishment. We ask every one of our guests, what do you know now that you wish you would have known sooner? So listeners, we are here today talking to Shay, the Farm Kid. It's at Shay Farm Kid. That is on TikTok and I believe Instagram and LinkedIn is at least a couple places that I know of. He's joined us here. We've learned a lot about crops that we don't know a lot about on a regular basis. And now we're going to get out of him what he knows now that he wishes he had known sooner.
So I think what I've probably picked up on in the last quarter decade of my life is that your trust in your strengths. You sometimes wonder, and we lack this confidence in ourselves and in our ability, whatever that ability or that skill or that talent might be. But you might realize if you trust yourself and you trust in your ability that you can develop it that much faster. And you'll look back and say, hey, I should have been more confident. I'm not saying being cocky or egotistical, but we're blessed with certain talents and abilities. And you have kind of an innate sense of what those are, but you're like, can that be right? Can I really have that talent? Am I really different from everyone else or so many people in this way? And I think the reality is when you gain a few years and you have conversations with other people, that you'll find that those strengths, those differences, those advantages are there, and you should trust in them.
I like that.
Very good.
I don't know if we've had it put that way before.
No, that's very good.
Yeah.
I've got one tiny question before we go.
Fire it.
Are there any products that you go direct to consumer that like we could order from you, or is it what are the names we should look for in the stores or restaurants to buy directly from you?
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Hopefully our website's back up. It's under development right now. You can always buy the swag, right? The hats and stuff like that. Owyhee Produce is typically the brand that you will find us at retail. And the other item that we do direct to consumer is our mint oil. That's one thing we didn't touch base on, but we have a mint distillery and distill spearmint and peppermint and native into concentrated oil that's used for cooking, toothpaste, items like that. Wow. And that is on our website, just Owyhee mint oil. You can pick that up, and that's something you can get. And you get one little bottle is 5,000 servings. It's not like, like you go get McCormick or something. This is the industrial strength, how we send it out, right? So one drop is the equivalent of an entire tablespoon of McCormick, right? Wow. And it's in the same size bottle.
So that's Owyhee, Owyhee.
Bingo. You're reading off my hat. That's cheating.
I wouldn't have been able to spell it without it.
Now, this has been a pleasure. We appreciate you taking the time out of your day and sharing your story with our listeners. And maybe we'll catch up again down the road and explore what you do and what the future looks like for the produce operators down the road.
All right. I appreciate being on. Thanks for letting me be here.
You bet. Thanks, Shay.
You bet.
Well, that was great of Shay to take some time and hang out with us in his tight schedule. That, like I said, I think that man could be the next Secretary of Ag if only we had a direct path to get him to that chair so he didn't have to do the years of service.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, maybe that's something later on in life, I mean, you get someone like Trump was appointing people that had no experience.
Well, that's true. That's fair. Just catch the right attention, make the right connection. It's not who you know, Dave. It's what you know.
That's right.
What do you know? You're back now. You sold the farm.
Yeah.
Did we meet the seller's expectations?
I always. Always. It's all about realistic expectations, under promise, over deliver.
The other side of this is the asparagus, and I'm itching to get in the ditch because that's the only asparagus that I know.
Itching to ditching.
Is to get the asparagus out of the ditch here in Iowa. I love
ditch asparagus.
Do you like the pointy end, or the big stalk?
I would prefer a slender asparagus over the thicker ones. Mm-hmm. I will eat the entire thing no matter what. But
I agree with that. I like the skinnier ones.
I like young asparagus.
So like the ones that are like bigger than your finger or thumb, you should leave, right? Because they get woody.
Oh, then they could.
Because they get woody, then they reproduce, and then you take the younger tender ones.
We're just too close to densely populated areas. It seems like by the time I find the patches I can see from the highway. First problem is I'm up from the highway.
Yeah.
Everybody else has already been there.
Yeah.
Is there an asparagus beer?
Oh.
I mean, we tried a peach beer. Is there an asparagus beer out there?
And if there was, would it make your pee stink?
Well, you just said woody, and I was thinking like we've had some stuff you've labeled as woody beer.
So that just reminded me. My daughters now will tell everybody that as they're eating pistachios, that they're supposed to stop eating pistachios before their poop turns green.
Oh.
So you said pee stink. That's another one I'm going to have to teach them, is as they're eating their asparagus is to pay attention, right?
I guess I've never ate too many pistachios then.
Well, that's what I tried to figure out is how do you know before it's too many if you have to wait until your poop turns green?
Huh.
Isn't that too late? I don't know. It makes me
Just went
laugh
off the
every
deep
time.
end. Do you like pickled asparagus?
I like pickled a lot of things. I don't know if
That's my favorite. You have you ever had that?
I
It's
don't
like
like
a pickle, but
you don't like
no.
asparagus at all.
I don't. I like asparagus. I don't like pickles.
which surprises me that you like asparagus out of all the things that you don't like.
I tried it, but I like it with a little butter and just
yeah.
fried up and have it with
Garlic?
steak. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Garlic butter
Some
and steak.
mushrooms.
I went on a healthy kick once, and asparagus was my go-to.
Asparagus and morel mushrooms and a steak.
Cauliflower was nasty. Asparagus I could do.
And now they make stupid stuff out of cauliflower,
Yeah,
like
they
pizza
do.
crust,
Pizza
and
crust
bread,
and
and they might leave
rice.
cauliflower out of this. All right, we only did one beer in the intro. We didn't get a second one in here. Let's do another one, Corey. What other mill stream do we have here from Dahl?
We've got the Devil's Advocate and West Coast IPA. It's got a hop with horns on the and eyeballs on the front. So Dave was scared of this.
A hop with horns and eyeballs.
Yes, white and orange and black. I
Show
like the
'em-
colors.
show 'em the
I
bullhorns.
really like these colors. Like they're my thing.
Wow, that's a different IPA.
6.7% alcohol.
Oh, a dangerous one.
It's not bad. It's pretty good.
Dave,
I'll take the peach.
You know,
gonna go back to
they
the
have
peach.
like reviews on the can, and some
would
of them
you-
are upside down, which they shouldn't do because this can still has beer in it, and I want to almost pour it out to read it.
would you put a bad review on a can?
No.
Oh,
So if I did, I know a friend that did that once with a farmland ad in the newspaper. He told him to put it upside down. Everybody realized it. And then, so he got everybody's attention. He did exactly what he wanted. He got everybody's attention, but everybody just thought he was a dingbat. So what was the catch-20? Like, yes, everybody saw my ad, but they also just thought I was.
So do you put in the ad, haha, I made you turn the paper upside down?
That's what I think you got to do.
You gotta acknowledge, like, haha, I made you do this.
All press is good press. Probably you got
I
way
think
more
so.
eyes to look at it than before.
Yeah.
Look for a Whitaker ad near you,
Yeah.
printed upside down.
Or just turn the postcard upside down and then it's upside down.
That's
Yeah, we could do that.
Listeners, thank you for listening to us, jumping on this show with Shay. We appreciate you hanging out with us, Dahl Distributing, all of our partners in crime. Again, if you have guests like Shay or other topics you want us to talk about, farmprofitllc@gmail.com, or leave us a voicemail, send me a text, preferably not dirty so my wife doesn't get me in trouble. 515-207-9640. Who am I kidding? I'll just forward it to Corey.
And we will laugh. We will definitely laugh. I think we should give a big award out to like the
A big award to the biggest-
raunchiest or
raunchiest.
dirtiest or best
We don't want
text
to-
message or voicemail.
We don't want
for
to
the year.
encourage this.
Is this
I
Google,
do.
Google
I
Voice
would-
set up?
Yeah, we've already got it.
You can Google
voicemail
Voice
from-
it to all our phones so we can all get it at the same time.
I don't know about that. We've already got one from Bill
We
Clinton.
only want Tanner in trouble.
Okay.
I didn't realize Bill Clinton listened, but Bill Clinton apparently listens. So, listeners, get creative. Send us something fun to play with. And we will go from there. Otherwise, all right, listeners, we're getting out of here. Until next time, have a good one.